Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuh wa nastahdihi wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min syururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa may yudlil fala hadiyalah. Alhamdulillah, today we are going to begin with the discussion on family institutions. After quite, I believe, long discussion on the introduction to understand, okay, to get a kind of feeling, what the understanding or expectation of institutions. And we can see throughout the discussion, when it comes to the institutions, it's not a matter that to place a group of people at one particular place, but what is more difficult is how to make them to work together, to cooperate, and etc. And from the introduction also, which is I want you to reflect while discussing institutions, okay, especially the family institutions. These are the two ends that I always mention in our class. Okay, before that, we go back actually to the main framework of the institutions. You remember? Do you remember the slide where I shared with you about a kind of what is the meaning of Islamic institutions? So they are basically on the main principles of philosophy governing, the institutions. The second is about the structure, yes, because when we are in a group, then there must be a kind of structure which is recognized, and especially we want to see from Islamic perspective, and then also the habit inside it, and etc. So then when it comes to the ends, so at the same time you can see how Islam always try to achieve, okay, the objective of, on one side is on the justice. The justice means it talks about every individual's rights, and the justice is not necessarily to be equal, because this is a very hot issue discussed in related to the family institutions, especially between men and women. The thing we already touched a little bit when we discussed about social institution in general, the relationship between men and women. But you can see more when it comes to the family institutions. So you will understand the root of this, what we call as justice in Islam. And on the other hand, it's about integration. So you can see about, how, for example, the reason why Islam really takes care of the hifzun nasl, so taking the necessity of a kind of preserving uh, the lineage. So this is very much clear in the family institution. In fact, this is actually the main reason for having the family institution, and this is important for the sake of integration, because you can see that the blood relation actually is the most important reason or basis for the integration, for the unity. Now, what we mean by integration here, integration actually is a broader perspective, broader aspect as compared to the unity, because integration actually is the whole system that regulate things, and there are small units how to handle with different units in the society. Then we have family. Okay, family, that is the basis, the most important basis for integration. How the family is the most unit that needs to be united. That's why it is relationship husband and wife. You know that it is the closest relationship. When you are married, even you don't share things anymore with your parents, for example, because it is always discussion about, and we are leading, we are, leading the what, a ship, isn't it? In which we know that when uh, a, a, a guy becoming a husband, it is about being the captain to the ship, to the not only ship, but it is more than that. You just imagine we are about to sail in the ocean where there are many challenges, and how to go about it. So that's why it must be roles played by husband and wife, and later on the children. So this is basically. So for this, I bring why it doesn't move here. Okay, why? Okay, this is the slide that I just added, in which for me this is actually very, very important. It tells about the expectation of a marriage and family. This is from Surah Rum, verse 21. And I believe this verse is actually very, very famous. You will listen to this verse whenever you will attend any course in the marriage. But here, it is for me to highlight about how this verse um, explicates, okay, mentions, shared with us about something, expectation of the concept of family and marriage in Islam. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنْفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So you can see that this verse, if you go back to the Surah Ar-Rum, that it is one of a series. It is in Surah Ar-Rum, before and after this ayah, is about series where Allah mentioned in these verses about min ayatihi. Okay, we know that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned wa min ayatihi, this is something about to be wonder, to wonder, to look into, to reflect, and this is something very beautiful. Is something, yeah, it's not something just ordinary. It is something that, yeah. That's it. And then one of the verses is telling about this. خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. Not only that, every one of you, he, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created for you mates, okay, or pair, from among yourself. Not only that, that you may dwell in tranquility. In fact, the word litaskunu ilaiha here is said by many scholars that it cannot be translated. It cannot be translated into other languages that can bring the same meaning and the same feeling. Just litaskunu. We know that the hostel, for example, is known to be maskan. Okay, we think that this is only physically a hostel, but actually it is not. Litaskunu ilaiha, because it is something, that a situation where you live there, you feel something. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And you may dwell in tranquility with them, and He has put love and mercy between your hearts. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Again, Allah mentioned that this is signs for those who think. So this is something interesting, because when we talk about husband and wife, we talk about a marriage. It's not only when you live in one house. Okay, it's not about when you are given a set of tasks, responsibility, But this is actually to groom and nurture about a kind of feeling, okay, a feeling that I believe, when people are in love, okay, when people are in love, sometimes you think you cannot describe that feeling, right? I do not know. Maybe this is even in love also is different from another. Believe me, when you are in a family, you feel more than that. You feel this is supposedly. We know that there are also family and marriage, those who don't have this feeling, okay? And I believe this is also related to their akhlaq. Okay, akhlaq is not something that you impose. Supposedly you already nurture. This is the peak when you are ready to be responsible. Do you know that I know that one of you at least already married, but this is what I observe based on my, discussion and my experience. You know, when it comes to marriage, supposedly every person involved, especially the husband and wife, must be ready, must be realized that this is very heavy responsibility. So that's why I mentioned about captain just now, because this is the beginning of the transition in life. That's why a lot of things need to be done. And you can see, mashallah, Islam has given us, that's why later on, okay, you will see if pertaining to the marriage, Islam has at least have three stages. The first one is pre-marriage. Okay, what are the things that you know before the marriage? What are the things that you need to prepare? What are the things that before coming to the marriage? Because marriage is not easy. It is very important. It really changes your life. It really either you will come to a situation where you can perform better, perform. Supposedly, this is what. So the family must come from people who can live together. That's why there are sometimes you can see later on Islam set um, certain criteria, how we want to live together. You can see later on, when it comes to the choice of spouse, it is not something to be compromise. It's something that, of course, you may think that, oh, this is selfish, but this is how it is. Because this is where the beginning, when you want to begin a new stage in your life, it depends on with whom you live with. Because why? Because of this is the aim, in which for me, marriage has a kind of ambitious aim, because we know that people can be successful. Then the first thing, of course, it comes from the family, how the father educates the children, the mother educate them to build in them a kind of uh, what is the life all about, why you need to strive, why you need to study, compared to, sorry to mention, the broken family, the father who is problematic. But I know some of you can do it, some of us can do it, even though coming from but you can see the difference. You can see the difference. You can see, normally, if it is in class, I will share with you about the stories of success, how people are getting awards, being best students, being genius, etc. You can see the support from the family. So that is actually very, that's why basically I'm here to share with you how actually Islam has a very ambitious aim towards the family. That's why later on in arranging the marriage, for example, the definition must be very solid. For example, and it is related to the concept of lineage in Islam. Islam does not allow anything to disturb the lineage. Make it very clear. So this is something that is very important as introduction to the marriage and family in Islam. Then we come to the what is marriage in Islam, the place of marriage. Do you know that when it comes to the rulings, the ruling of marriage, do you know that there is a kind of differences of opinion? It is not that It is that clear. But for me, this is not something negative. This is very positive. Do you know that because it is based on, for example, if people looking into the uh, jurist perspective, then they look into what is there in the Quran. And in the Quran says that in Surah An-Nisa, "Fankihu ma taba lakum." Fankihu. But the fankihu means what? Do you know that the Zahiri madhab said that it is compulsory? The marriage is compulsory. So it is sinful for those who are not getting married. So this is the thing. But others, you can see some schools will go for recommended, straight away recommended, because it has been done by the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Now we come to Madhab Shafi'i. Do you know that Madhab Shafi'i is just said that it is permissible. It is mubah. But the mubah can change to different rulings, including prohibited. Do you know that? So basically, when a person can fulfill, is able to fulfill responsibilities, and then it is time for them to get married, then it is sunnah. And we know that uh, what is that? We know that it can become wajib when a person may need to, otherwise he may do something more serious and etc. But many people always take a kind of decision by saying that this is why it is wajib for me to get married, okay, to avoid from making zina, whatever. But at the same time, they may have the haram, that when they cannot fulfill responsibilities. So this is where we need to think of. But the most important thing in Islam, it is almost about the going to the side of the a kind of encouragement. And people will say, how can many scholars who did not get married? So this is something that's why we have to remember, ruling is ruling, but how we take into our life is another. So some people have sufficient justification for them not to get married. For example, we know Imam An-Nawawi, we know Rabi'atul Adawiyah, and many good scholars actually did not get married because maybe they have their own justification. But the most important thing, this is what is more important is in Islam. Generally, okay, the Islamic teaching, there is no celibacy in Islam. Islam does not promote a situation where a person is not married for the sake of religion. The thing that you can see in other religions, you can see this in Christianity, you can see this in Buddhism and many other religions. In Islam, no. Okay, there is nothing in Islam such promoting not marrying because of to prove that you are giving more commitment to Islam. Generally, Islam encourages marriage. So this is something, and I know some of you are into marriage, but some others, especially, do you realize that it is not realizing? The findings show, especially in the countries who consider themselves moving into modern the lifestyle where everybody is very independent, especially the woman. Actually, it is a worrying factor that many more people are have a kind of understanding or a kind of philosophy in their life, especially the women and even men, in which marriage is not needed. Huh? So we can live alone for many reasons. For many reasons, findings show that the average of marriage age among the youth are increasing. And do you know that this is also problems? For example, I don't know even among you. I'm just sharing. I'm not just say, I do not. My intention is not to compare whatever, but just to understand. For example, yeah, many countries nowadays, including Malaysia, actually, before this, Singapore realized that actually we are our growth pertaining to the population is not healthy. Okay, they call it as fertility rate. Okay, the fertility rate is decreasing. Okay, from year to year. The fertility rates is not about the finding that shows the women can get pregnant or not. Fertility rates is actually about looking into how many children to a couple or considered to be couple, because it is about increasing in the population, the increase rate in the population. So the increasing rate in the population is not healthy. Yeah, you can see if it is too much, the growth, like yeah, Indonesia, Bangladesh, then later on they cannot tackle too many people. But we are actually, for the many countries nowadays are coming to the decreasing, I mean, not healthy growth. So it comes to the aging society, yeah? When the young are not balanced compared to the uh, old people, then this is what they call as aging society. I have one paper cutting, at least, about what happened in China. We know that China at one time was very uh, high in population, but after they limit the birth rate, and then actually they are facing problems. You can see even when you want to do business, for example, mentioned in that paper cutting, I can share with you later. Uh, Even about marriage, yeah, this is about business. When about catering, about and then photography, and then you cannot do much because many are old. The young are not many. Whereas we need to also to do business, etc. So this is why that Islam is consistent. Islam is consistent in encouraging. I would say generally Islam encourages marriage because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was married. Was married, but when it comes to polygamy, is another issue. Then at the same time, Islam has a comprehensive and practical rules for marriage. I think I don't have to explain on this because I already mentioned a lot in our introduction how yeah, in Islam, mashallah, there is also another paper cutting showing, I do not know it is with me yet or not, maybe because I didn't see it lately in my file, that mashallah, Islam has a comprehensive practical rules. Then that's why you can see from pure revelation of Quran and Hadith, it is now developed into enactments in law and etc. because it is comprehensive and practical. Until today, the Muslim communities, even though they are living in as minority in many countries, they still have their own way of managing the marriage because it can tackle the problem when the divorce happened, what happened in the. So this is something very interesting. Of course, marriage is important, for it is the beginning of family institution which plays a vital role. And this is, I think, a lot I already mentioned because it is a unit. It is like a kidney. It is the family who cures, supposedly, the problems in society. That is why when a crime is done by a person who is below age, then it is the parents supposedly to be also responsible for that. And that's why it also begins with the marriage. It is not easy. When it comes to the marriage, we need to be responsible of what our children will be doing. This is on the actually on the back side of it. On the on the front side of it, actually, we are supposedly to be ready to groom our children to be meaningful, to be successful individuals, people who contribute back to the society. That is actually beginning from the marriage, coming from the mawaddah wa rahmah, because it comes to the children later on. The rules also suit and support related principal institution, economical, social, etc. So as I mentioned, it is the most basic unit. It is actually the source of economy. It is about the system that manage and arrange the monetary. Can you imagine? Uh, this is something very interesting. People don't think that in marriage there is a kind of arrangement. No, because you can see nowadays, even when we want to distribute the zakat and etc., they will look into the household income. Okay, how there is a kind of activities happen in a family, where at first the of course the leader, the head of the family, needs to bring back something to the family, and then it becomes a kind of levels of society of the family in the society. And uh, and people will ask, do you think this is what Islam want? There are kinds of rankings in economy. I'm not saying it's about kasta, okay? But from the very beginning, Islam acknowledges there are people who are below par, where they must be helped from zakat and etc. Meaning to say, Islam expected from the very beginning of these differences. But we have to remember that in order for us to define ourselves to be good and better and the best, it's not only based on this. It's about how you do about it. Okay? Both people from both groups, maybe poor and rich, are potential to be good and bad. People who belong to the low aspect, they are maybe on the side of patience, on the side of being enough, not to do bad things in order for them to get more money, for example. On the hand side, on the right side, people who are rich, then they have a lot of responsibilities to help others, to keep their heart, not to be arrogant, and always to make themselves close to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because this is also a test. So this is something that we have to remember. But it doesn't mean that there is a regulating or having a system on people having more and less is not there in Islam, because by nature this is about human beings. There are people, and this is where also we need to come with a kind of introduction to economics, where the way Islam looks at the wealth and income is is it's not that it is not allowed. In fact, many of the companions were rich. Prophet himself was a rich man. Maybe this, I do not know. Maybe this is your first time listening this. Yeah, because out of the ghanimah, he had a lot, but he chose to give away, to give back. That's why finally he had no wealth. So this is something that is very important for us to reflect. Then, okay, this is something very important. We can see how marriage is the only way to have a union between man and woman, especially when it comes to the continuation to the next generation, having children. And for that, Islam does not recognize any other intimate relationship other than marriage. This is when whatever that can protect this is considered to be also very important. We know how the zina, adultery is haram. Not only that, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا, So this is how Islam is serious in ensuring that the only way to have an intimate relationship, and of course uh, the result, okay, the consequence of this intimate relationship, having the children. And this is also actually to respect people. That's why it is part of the to the, how to say that, the muru'ah, the maruah, the dignity of a woman is to take care of herself, not to have. That's why even khalwa, be one between men and women is not allowed in Islam. So this is actually basically the thing. Then how actually Islam really respects, especially the woman. So these are among others the rejected relationship, okay, union between two persons of the same sex. So this is of course not allowed. And if we think it logically also, what is the point of having, because it is no, it brings to nowhere. Okay, of course it is, people can say that yeah, the love can be nurtured between two persons with the same sex and whatever, but we have to be practical in this sense, until what is the point. So that, and then Islam, the most important thing, then Islam does not allow this to happen. And uh, those who can have this, I believe this is coming from the waswas to shaitan. Huh? That's why Islam brings the goodness for us. The goodness for us is, yeah, what is after this? Then there is no objective of having this, and that's why it is not allowed. Then agreement between a number of men and a number of women to live together, so you can have exchange, whatever you wish. So this is also not allowed. A license between marriage of a couple without duly witnessed contract. So this is something not allowed also. But that's why we need to remember, when people want to have a kind of ad hoc marriage, how it is only an agreement between the man and woman without known by the family members, without declared to others, putting in secret. So of course this is not allowed in Islam, because a marriage must be something known by public. Only they can function as a family, as a marriage, and as a family later on. So this is really about long-term relationship. It's about life. What? It is not to say that it must be once in a lifetime, but this is something decision for supposedly for the whole life. So that's why. Then cohabitation contract, open marriage, swinging couple, swapping. So it's about the same as the above. Then this is all not allowed. This is actually marriage is actually a very respectful and respected tie, um, and then witnessed by people around us, the family members, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So this is something a very noble relationship. How can we want to play with that? So even in the verse, mithaqan ghaliza, this is something very serious. Islam has made marriage to be very serious. So this is technically marriage means an official bond between man and woman. So mentioned here about official bond. So that's why we know that, for example, nowadays in Malaysia and many countries, coming from the law and legal thing that we must register and etc. So this is something, a kind of maslahah. People say that why should during the Prophet Muhammad, they didn't even have this kind of registration, whatever. But this is to add more into the official meaning of the bond, especially to trace the relationship and etc. It is not something you can make it personal and secret, like we have in Shia marriage, where it is only for for a term agreed before the marriage. So this is actually really does not meet the expectation of marriage in Islam. Okay, you can see here a solemn contractual agreement between an eligible male and female, please, male and female, um, in the presence of witnesses, whereby they become acknowledged as husband and wife. A legal commitment sanctioned by God and acknowledged by society. So this is something very, very important, because when you are known to be husband and wife, then responsibilities also, especially for the woman, is handed over, is changed now during the marriage, from the responsibility of a father becoming the responsibility of a husband. That is why maybe during your time, those who are yet to evolve, I mean, with marriage, and especially though you are now at the study level, you are, you do not realize of what happened in our, I mean, because you do not experience that. As I mentioned before, either we like it or not, in life, actually it's about liability and etc. Because at your level, you are just on the side of taking. Sorry to mention taking, because you are the children. You still get many things from your parents. You are not the one who really have your own life. There are people who support you, but when it comes to marriage, it is not anymore. It is between you and your husband to lead a family later on. So this is something very, very important. And when we talk about to lead the family, then we have a lot. We have a lot of things in our life. We need to have monetary resources. We need to have strength in psychology and etc. I still remember one time when my children said, now they are already big, but maybe during their primary school, I sent them, because this is actually belong to my friend. They have a kind of training. Oh, it is not training. Actually, it is a cash flow class of game, in which, based on the book of Robert Kiyosaki, they create a game. They call it as cash flow. So I didn't understand about the thing, but one day when I asked them, okay, what happened to your game today? You won easily? And then they say, one of my sons say, oh, today is my bad luck. Why? I always have baby. And in that game, baby is about liability. So this is practically speaking. Practically speaking, yes, because you have to, it is a burden. You have to give a very high commitment. Of course, in this game is about money. You have to think of the pampers. You have to think of the milk. That's why when it comes to the cash flow from your salary, you need to deduct more. Okay, so this is something interesting, because of course, and then I told him, okay, it is not that this negative. Actually, the child is very good for you, baby is very good for you. But on one hand, it is the same. And then, what is interesting, he reflected himself, saying that, oh, then I am actually, demanding from you a lot of things, and he knows that this is about life. So this is what we have in marriage. Okay, Islam gives a kind of practical understanding on what is actually what is going to happen later on. maybe this is the first time. Maybe you see how your parents are doing, but a lot of things they do not share with you on the on the on the problems, on the challenges, and etc. And then already mentioned there. And then marriage is a mithaq, I already mentioned before. So supposedly a person, a man and a woman, entered marriage with a kind of determined heart. Okay, not to say, oh, it is only 50 50 50. I just come here because someone forced me to get married, or because I followed my friends, many of them already getting married, so I just follow. Okay, I just found this woman, this lady, and then I asked her to get married. Mithaq, this is a very heavy responsibility. It's about an oath that you are going to be responsible, etc. Together with the sets of responsibilities there. Okay, marriage is both sacred and social contract in Islam. What do we mean by sacred? Sacred means it is when you are married, then this is what has been determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must be, but you have to bear in mind, some religions, when they say that marriage is sacred, this is already something determined by Allah, decided by God, okay? But, and together when it comes to the divorce, since it is something about God, so you cannot change it. You must be in that tie, in that relationship until the end. Even, those things happen. So this is a problem. But in Islam, it is together with social contract, meaning to say it comes with sets of responsibilities that can be how to say that, judged by people. So whenever a person cannot fulfill responsibility, then this can lead to the end, to the end of the tie, and it has these responsibilities. And then, okay, it is a social contract that as it is undertaken with the mutual agreement of both parties, well knowing terms and conditions of the relationship. Okay, this is about hadith. Okay, marriage is my sunnah. Whoever loves my conduct should follow my way, and whoever strays from my way is not of me. When Muslims marry, they have perfected half of their religion, and they should practice righteousness to secure the other half. So this is something to show how marriage actually is a serious aspect in our life, to the extent it is about perfecting another half. Because for me, marriage is a kind of door to sets of responsibilities, and how it is important, because we are about to have other generations, to continue with generations, not only to continue our wish as a family, but also to continue about religions, because we are going to educate our, inshallah, children well, and they also will continue bringing and holding and shouldering the responsibilities, or the kind of amanah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of being the Khalifa, good Khalifa. And the Quran also mentions about the joys, hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahun. So this is to show that how close is the relationship. It is about completing each other. It is about the complementary role of each other. So we already heard of the video, okay, from Alistair McIntyre, how actually institution is for us to achieve higher aim in our life. We cannot make it alone. That's why we need to have company. We need to have a group of people in our career, in the university, in any organization, because this is to achieve higher achievement. It is not higher achievement in the sense that the same achievement by the individual. No, because when you are in an institution, we can achieve different sets of achievements. So that's why we need to have this combination, the union between a man and a woman, because of their characteristic, also because of their, if you don't want to talk other characteristic difference between husband and man and woman, at least about the biological formation of us, man and woman, need them to be together in order to have something. Of course, I mean here is about the dhurriyyah. Oh, we have again this verse, but this time I bring it to the front to understand about the whole thing. The objective of marriage in Islam, to enable us to fulfill our duties as Khalifa. I think we know that marriage is about venturing into self-responsibilities. At the same time, it's about self-fulfillment, in which the husband and wife live in peace and tranquility. This is actually the very important psychological effect. Do you know that in our life, when the more we are facing challenges, the bigger, the more we have bigger responsibilities, the more we need to be independent, then we need to have place where the place where we share the love. We have a kind of shura, okay, discussion, sharing of opinion, before, and then the most important thing is the peace and the tranquility. The husband have someone to take care of him, even though people say that household job is not the wife's responsibility, whatever. But I believe, especially when the husband is not capable, then the wife still have to do, out of love, to do something in the so, because being a woman, we have certain inclination to take care of the household. So this is the thing, at least for the husband to share something with the wife, and for the wife also, when he knows, and when a person knows that he is or she is loved, so this is something very important. He or she is appreciated, this is something very important. He and she is accepted to be part of another's life, so this is actually very, very important. Other than the parents, because we know that parents have certain limit up to some extent. What more when it comes to siblings, when the siblings have their other commitments, then there are certain limit. But husband and wife, supposedly there is no limit of a union between husband and wife. Then what is very important here about the feeling of peace and tranquility. Justice, fairness, of course, this is something very important. Mercy and love in marriage. Objective, comfortable atmosphere, preservation, continuation of the human race. I think this is very clear. Protection of morals. I mentioned how family is actually responsible to ensure that the members' morals are protected. Not only protected, but nurturing good moral. Good is not good, it's excellent. Psycho-emotional stability, something that I already mentioned before. Socialization and value orientation. Okay, widening the family horizons and producing social cohesion, motivation for effort and sacrifice. This is very, very important. Actually, when a person is in stable mood, okay, having good psychologically, good in psychology, not in psychology subject, but pertaining to the emotion. Actually, man is a nature of Khalifa. Khalifa wants to do something. Khalifa wants to explore, wants to move ahead, then and etc. So this is actually about family. It begins from the family because it pushes the effort, and because the life is full of sacrifice. So the family is the place where it grooms this feeling, and then fulfilling the nature of human being. Okay, so I think I straight away come with the polygamy here because it is related to the rulings of marriage. If I don't bring it here, then I'm afraid that but we will inshallah continue this discussion in our next class. For that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.